Ever wondered how a simple startup idea grows into a massive tech enterprise, handling millions of users daily? Scaling isn't just about adding more servers. It's a journey through microservices, database magic, blazing fast caching, and much more. Stick around to discover the steps that tech giants take to scale their systems from zero to millions. These are the series of steps a startup can take to grow into an enterprise. Let's jump onto a very basic setup for an early stage of startup. So in the initial phases, it will actually start with a POC where an application and a database will be just spent in a single server, can be an AWS EC2 instance or a local Linux machine. So everything will reside in a single instance. However, if this application was a massive hit and slowly it's building the traction of the user traffic, then eventually this setup won't be efficient and performance issues starts creeping in. And at this stage, you start hitting the limits of this single server. Your app starts to slow down, downtime increases, and users are not happy. That's when it's time to think about scaling. So in our case, this client is nothing but a mobile application or a web application. So if you can think of how we can actually scale this application server. Scaling is of two types, vertical and horizontal scaling. So in the case of vertical scaling, imagine if this instance has 16 GB, you just increase the RAM to 32 64. Increasing the physical resource limits of a server is called vertical scaling. Simple. Horizontal scaling, as in, you'll basically duplicate the application server so that right now, if you see, it's only one application. In horizontal scaling, you'll have many instances of the same application service. And the database can be common or it can be a single instance. Let's get into the next performance step. That would be horizontal scaling. If you can see here, this representation is basically multiple clients or all the different user base or mobile applications. And this is a horizontal scaling, app server 1, 2, 3. Here I mentioned it as app server. This specific monolithic application can be split into different microservices. So you could imagine one app service can be a one microservice, and that specific microservice also can be scalable in horizontally. Example, so this can be an order service, this can be a product service, this can be a billing service, and each specific microservice again can be scaled. Like this can be 3 instances, this order service can be two, something like that. This for the pictorial representation I just created as an app service. You could assume each instance or a specific microservice can be horizontally scaled into many instances. At this stage looks clear, right? And if you see, we introduced one block, that is load balancer. Reason, what are the requests tries to reach to app server? Let's say when you log in, right, there are 3 instances of the login service. Imagine in that case, load balancer will take responsibility how to split the load across the whole servers so that it redirects to that specific app server. There are so many different algorithms like how the load balancer can be like a round robin or based on the request resources. And if you can see here, this specific setup is good enough until again to a certain extent. After that, the user base can keep growing and the setup itself wouldn't be sufficient. Reason, if you can see, this is just one single database instance. So let's imagine if this app server has like 5 instances, like this order service has like 3 instances, login service 4 instances, and if you see, each different microservice can have a different database, but in this case the database is single. And also, if you split into microservices from monolithic, in an ideal way, each specific service will have its own database. So that can be a good improvement, right? So to iterate, this specific database instance will become a bottleneck. So if you can guess, the next step would be database replication. So in this case, the only difference is this database cluster. Earlier, it's only single database instance, but in this case, it's a database cluster. As an example, with MongoDB, you can have one primary instance and many secondary instances. Combined, this is called database cluster. And if you can see the difference here, this primary instance will always be responsible for all the write operations, and for read operations, it's up to application level how they want to read. Like application servers, when they try to connect to this specific database cluster, they can mention like read preference, stating that all the read operations will go to secondary instances, but all the write operations will definitely go to primary. So how this works is, in this database cluster, whenever there is a write operation in primary, that will replicate the same operation into the following secondary databases. There will be a small replication lag as well. This specific setup will improve in a lot of ways. So from this instance, all the write operations will be sent to primary and all the read operations will be sent to secondary instances. This whole setup improves a massive performance boost. But down the line, as application grows, there will be so much of features being added into the application along with the performance improvements as well. Eventually, you would observe that frequent access to the database for every little query will slow down the performance. So how to fix this problem? Any guesses? And that would be caching. If you can see here, The setup between this specific screen and this screen is just this extra block that is caching. So these green lines is like whenever there is a read request, it will go to the cache first. If the record exists, it returns that as a response instead of directly querying it to the database. And if there is no record in the cache, it will try to fetch data from the database, save it in the cache, and send the same as the response. There are so many caching mechanisms. I have created a bunch of videos on Redis cache. If you are interested, please go through them. So to sum it up, with the help of caching, you can store frequently requested data in memory. This makes data retrieval lightning fast and drastically reduces the load on your database. With caching in place, things are running much smoother. But as more users come on board, you will notice slow load times, especially for your static content. This is where we introduce CDN for static assets. There are two changes to the previous architecture. If you can see, from client, the request first goes to load balancer. Now we have introduced one small thing, that is API gateway. Client request will be sent to API gateway. And here, if you can see, there is a one other block, that is CDN. Whenever a gateway identifies the request or of static assets, it will redirect the request to CDN. A content delivery network helps deliver static files like CSS, images, JavaScript files much faster by serving them from the data centers located closer to the user. Instead of your servers handling these requests, the CDN takes the load, improving user experience worldwide. So at this stage, static content is now speeding through CDN and your servers are breathing a little easier. But now your entire infrastructure needs to be prepared for global scale. This means we need to think bigger. We need to think about data center expansion. Now the difference would be at a bigger level. So till this point, we added different modules like database replication, caching, CDN to reach this scale. Now we will expand the infrastructure by deploying these modules across different regions. If you can see here, client, gateway, load balancer are kind of a single module, and the rest of the whole scalable entities like different application servers, caching, and database cluster can be deployed at region specific. So region 1, you could say that Asia, and this would be like Europe region and also North America as an example. For the sake of simplicity, I given only two regions, but it can expand to all the available regions as well. So if you see here, application servers, database clusters, caching are part of one region, and the exact clone is deployed into the different region. So this specific infrastructure will not only reduce latency but also ensures high availability. Imagine there is some natural disaster and this region 2 is completely off. In that case, at least we have region 1 which can take the full load. And once region 2 is back again, it can share the load. Before jumping on to the last step, which can be added at any phase, let's revisit the whole phases one more time. So to begin with, it's a very simple infrastructure where one single application and a database which is actually deployed in the same server. Then we introduced microservices and scaling them with the help of load balancer. Then we transformed this database into a database cluster where primary and secondary has their own responsibilities. Then we introduced caching for most frequently requested data. Then to improve loading of static assets, we introduced the CDN. And then we geographically scaled across different regions. And at this stage, once your infrastructure reaches this level of complexity, monitoring becomes essential. You need tools like Datadog or Prometheus to constantly monitor your application performance, detect bottlenecks, and predict issues before they impact the user's performance. From server health to application logs, proactive monitoring helps you scale confidently without any surprises. And you can see there is a new block called queue system. So this queue system can be introduced at a very early stage based on the application demand. Let's say there is a booking application, so ordering, email notifications, and all can be scaled with the help of queue system. So queue system has a wide range of usabilities like logging, application monitoring, asynchronous operations. So just to clear, this queue system will be again part of region dependent. So each region will have separate queue setup. And there you have it, a complete journey from a single server to a globally distributed enterprise scale application. As you scale each step, you're not just adding servers, you're evolving your entire system architecture to handle millions of users, all while maintaining performance and reliability. Scaling is not a one time fix. It's a series of smart, deliberate decisions that keep your app fast, responsive, and ready for anything. Also, if you're interested in how to build your own Redis like server, I have created a dedicated playlist in our YouTube channel. Please go through it. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. And if you're facing any scaling challenges, drop a comment below. I would love to hear where you are on your scaling journey and any tips you have picked along the way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.